Hi friends, it's Laura. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my November wrap-up. So November was a very weird month and I was starting to feel really slumpy, not wanting to read. I did manage to read six books. Two of those were novellas. So I'm gonna go in order of least favorite to most favorite, or like least enjoyed, you know what I mean. Lowest rated to highest rated. That's what I wanted to say. So unfortunately, the first book I'm going to be starting with is Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. I gave this 2 stars. I don't understand what happened here. So you guys may know that I read Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse and I loved it. It's one of my favorite books of the year. I loved the writing, I loved the world building, I loved the characters so much. So naturally, I thought that I was going to pick this up and love it, and I just didn't. I found this to be so boring. This is a urban fantasy, and we're following the main character, who I can't even remember her name, Maggie, right? Maggie. She is a monster hunter. This takes place in like this post-apocalyptic world where there was this great flood, and 2/3 of the United States have been destroyed under this flood, and the what was previously known as the Navajo Reservation kind of rose and protected themselves, and with the Great Flood came the emergence of the old gods, and monsters from their mythology have come to life. The premise sounded so good. Maggie is a monster hunter, but the plot in this particular book was all over the place. It felt so meandering. Like, this is the focus. We need to figure out what's happening here, what's causing these particular monsters to be made. But then we go off on several tangents and kind of forget about all the other, the main quest, like the main thing. Like, what are we doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just all over the place. Not only that, but there were so many, what I would consider plot holes. There were so many things that just didn't make sense. There were things that were convenient, and there were things that just did not make sense. Like, certain character motivations, certain betrayals didn't make sense. It's just so much of this. And plus, I didn't enjoy the characters. I was mostly bored throughout this book. I don't understand what happened. The only thing that I really enjoyed was the mythology and the world itself. I was very curious about how we got to this particular point in the world, but we didn't get any answers on that. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed because so many people said that this was incredible, said that please read it, like it's one of my favorite books, and I'm just like, what? I don't get it. And I don't understand how the same author could have written one of my favorite books and one of my least favorite books at the same time. It's so weird to me. And like, I know that I'm probably the odd person out here because a lot of people really love this series. I just didn't. I don't think that I'm going to continue. I do have the second book on my shelf, but I don't know if I should continue. Like, I don't know. But I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars, and I'm so sad. I'm so sad about it. I really am. I'm sorry if this is like one of your favorites. It just wasn't mine. It wasn't mine. It wasn't for me. So moving into 4-star reads, I gave 4 stars to Sunreach, which is a novella in the Skyward series that takes place after Book 2. This story is told from FM's perspective, so that was very interesting. I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And then, of course, I read the other novella in the series, which is Redawn. I gave that 5 stars. I loved it. This is from Alanique's perspective, if you know. And of course, before I read those 2, I did read Starsight, which is the second book in the Skyward series. I actually buddy read this with Ingrid from Ingrid Inspired. We loved this. I gave it 5 stars. If you don't know, the first book, Skyward, follows a girl named Spensa who has grown up on this planet with kind of like the remnants of humanity. They are constantly being attacked by this alien race called the Krell, and because of that, they've kind of had to live underground. And her dream is to be a fighter pilot so that she can help protect her people. And the first book is kind of that, her getting into the school and learning to be a pilot and stuff like that. And then the story has completely expanded from there. I loved this, like I said, really enjoyed it. We found out a lot of interesting things, and the novellas were really good. So the first one, I gave 4 stars. The second one, I gave 5 stars. This, I gave 5 stars. I wish I could say more, but I don't want to give away any spoilers, obviously, because it is the second book in a series. So those were the next 3 books that I read. And then we have The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I finally picked up The Wheel of Time, and I loved this. I was so shocked. So I don't know why I thought that going into this it was going to be really dense, it was going to be hard to get into, but it wasn't. It was very easy to read, and there was something very familiar about it. And I don't know if it's just like familiar fantasy tropes that I'm used to, like it does have the chosen one type trope, but it just felt so cozy and comforting, like just putting on a warm blanket of familiar fantasy. And I really enjoyed my time with it, more than I thought I was going to. So I thought that the world was so interesting, how the Wheel of Time works and souls are reborn, and the magic in here as well was so interesting to me. I'm very excited to see more of what it can do. I really enjoyed the characters in here. I enjoyed so many aspects of this. For most of this book, it's a journey story, and I don't like those, but for whatever reason, it just worked so well in this particular story for me. As far as the characters, I really enjoyed these characters, especially Moraine. I think she's my favorite. I really liked Rand and Matt as well. Like, Matt is kind of annoying. Perrin, I love. Like, he's just a giant teddy bear and should be protected at all costs. I felt like the other female characters in here were so annoying, and I don't know if that was intentional or if that's just the way they came off, but they were so annoying to me, especially Nynaeve, and even Egwene, just like annoying. So yeah, there was that. But other than that, I love the characters, and like even those 2 characters have started to grow on me. So I'm so excited to continue on in the series. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that it's definitely slow paced. I didn't mind the slow pace, but it definitely wasn't like perfect for me. But I'm excited to continue on and see what I think of the series as a whole. I gave it 4 stars, like I said, really enjoyed it. So glad that I finally started this series, and it's gonna be a while until I complete it, but that's fine. Also really enjoying the show. I've started watching that and I love it. And then finally, this is gonna be a very short wrap up, but finally, probably what is my favorite book of the month ended up being Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I finally read this, and I buddy read this with Tia from Tia and All the Books. So I didn't mention, but like these 3 books that I read this month were all books off my backlist, so that really helped. So yeah, this was another one, and I loved it. This is so much fun. This is absolutely hilarious, and I enjoyed every second of reading this book. So the setup for this is that in this world, it's kind of like your classic fantasy setting, right? But in this world, there are bands of mercenaries, and these mercenary bands are like the rock stars of this world. They go on tour, people absolutely love them, they become legends. They're like the rock stars of the world. And our main character in here is Clay Cooper, who was part of the band called Saga. They were the best of the best mercenary bands, and they are legends now. However, they're kind of old. The band has broken up. They're retired. You know, they're old men. They're kind of not washed up, but they haven't been at it for quite some time, and they don't plan on getting back together until another member of the band, Gabriel, comes to Clay one day and says, "Hey, my daughter has been taken and I need your help getting her back. I want to get the band back together." And so what do? They get the band back together and travel to save Rose, who is Gabriel's daughter. And just the most insane, crazy, hilarious adventure ensues. It's so good. There's all manner of magical creatures and beings in here. We've got elf-like creatures, we've got dragons, we've got so many things, and we've got these old men that are past their prime trying to be what they once were, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. We've got Clay, we've got Gabriel. We've got a wizard in here, Moog, who is by far the most hilarious character in this entire book. We have a zombie that joins them at one point. Like, it's so funny and so good. I just loved it. I loved every second of it. And besides being just like a fun time, it's also really deep. You also get a lot of character moments, character work. You get these interpersonal relationships. You see this bond between these men and how much they love each other. And it's just so incredibly sweet and deep and beautiful. There were so many amazing quotes in here. There were so many moments where just having the whole band together, and like right before they're about to go into the last battle, they cuddle up together and they're like, I love you, man. Like, it was just so good. It was so good. I cannot wait to read the second book, which is Bloody Rose. I've heard from some people that it's not as good as the first book, but I'm still super excited to read it. Plus, whatever Nicholas Eames comes out with next, I think there's going to be a third book in the band series, and I can't wait for that. So yeah, I loved this. It was incredible. I highly recommend. I cannot believe that I hadn't picked it up in so long, because I've been hearing about this book for years and I never picked it up, and I feel stupid for not reading it sooner. But I loved it. 5 stars. Probably my favorite book of the month. Definitely pick it up if you have not yet. That is it, my friends. Those are all the books that I read in the month of November. Not a ton, but still a very good quality month. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get to read even more in the month of December. We shall see. But that is going to be it from this video. Please let me know down in the comments if you have any thoughts or opinions on the books that I talked about in this video. Let me know if you read any of them, what you thought of them. I love hearing from you in the comments. But that's going to be it from me today. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.